No snake in the dugout, no problem. Boro bounced back and beat free-scoring Birmingham by 2-1. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Project Boro, and well, I could not be any prouder to be sat here talking about Boro 2, Birmingham City 1. Adi Vavesh as Boro 2, Birmingham 1. And what an absolutely crazy week it has been at Middlesbrough Football Club. It has been, I think, one of the craziest weeks I can ever remember experiencing as a fan. It's all been happening on and off the pitch. And, well, we almost forgot there was a game this weekend. It felt very secondary compared to everything else that was happening in the world of Boro. But after a rough run of games, a rough run of performances, a really good side in form coming to the town, and all the noise and speculation and all the emotion around this game, for Boro to put in the performance they did, for the players to dig in and the fans to play their part, and the coaching team, you know, getting things together and getting a team together to go out there and beat a team who've been playing well of late, get us back up to second. It was absolutely immense, and one of them days where you just sit back and you just feel incredibly proud to support your football club. I really did come away from the Riverside just feeling so proud to support this club. And, well, 2 goals scored by 2 Teesside lads as well. It was almost too perfect. But, of course, we have to address the, I was going to say elephant in the room, but the snake in the room. Although he's not really in the room, has he? Because he's buggered off and left the room. But, yes, Boro obviously went ahead with the game today, and there was no Rob Edwards in the dugout. Of course, last time we did a video on the channel, it was yesterday. By the way, huge thank you to everyone who has watched the podcast me and Chris did last night, or whenever you're watching this on Friday night. It has gone bananas and has been incredibly well received by not only Boro fans but multitude of different fans from different football clubs. So we're over the moon with how that's done. And check it out if you haven't already, if you want to see our initial thoughts at the time on the Rob Edwards situation. Since then, we still hadn't heard anything until this morning, and we finally got clarity on what was happening, and of course that was that Adi Vavesh would take the team going into this game, amid of course the speculation that Rob Edwards was on his way to Wolves. And as I said, once again, I really hoped that this would galvanise and unite everyone at Middlesbrough Football Club, and not just the fans, in the hierarchy who've been massively let down, the staff who worked alongside him, and of course the players who have trusted him and bought into everything that he has tried to implement so far. And it really felt like a huge team effort from everybody. You know, you can tell by what's been said outside the ground. Fans have spoke to Gibson, there's been quotes from that back and forth, the stuff the players have put on social media, stuff that's been said by the staff, you know, from recruitment to everybody. He has let down an entire football club, and it felt like everyone came together today to get the result, and it was the exact atmosphere I was hoping for. It was the exact result we were all hoping for, and we now go into the international break back in second. And despite a really rough run of games where we've not played well, 11 points from the last 6 games, it's almost 2 points a game. We've come out of this block somehow in really good nick, and we're back to second and have 2 weeks now to hopefully sort things out and see if we can get in whoever is next. But anyway, let's talk about the game then, because I guess it did happen today. And of course, Adi Vavesh's Boro looked like this. Now, it's a 4-2-3-1 on FootMob. It was more of a 4-3-3 with Hackney a little bit more advanced, but essentially we were back to a back four. Dale Fry come in. Of course, we had injuries midweek. Suspensions to Alfie Jones. We did have injuries to Dale Fry, but he did step in. It did sound like there was question marks over whether he would, but he opted to, and he stepped in for the sake of the team, which tells you all you need to know about Dale Fry. And then we, of course, had the three midfielders all playing together once again. Hackney in there with Brown and Morris alongside him. We did see Ali McGree start, which I was delighted about. I didn't expect him to start, I'll be honest, but he did. Whittaker on the other side and Tommy Conway up front. And you know what? I thought we started the game really, really well. I thought we really did. I think, again, given everything that's gone on, you'd have to imagine, training has been disrupted this week. The players, essentially have been completely dropped by the manager. It's such a tough situation to deliver a performance in such unique circumstances. But I thought the whole of Teesside performed, if I'm absolutely honest. The fans and the atmosphere before the game was amazing. The atmosphere during the game was amazing. And the players just put absolutely everything into this performance. They were absolutely great from the very, very start. The chants from the home end, I'm not going to repeat, were brilliant. I was very much joining in with them. And the banners that the Red Faction put up as well throughout the game sent a very, very, a very solid message, I would say, to Edwards if he was watching, after being kicked out of his hotel room by Steve Gibson the day before. But anyway, first 20 minutes, Boro were absolutely great, and I think got the goal we deserved. Dale Fry, as I say, one of the Teesside boys, getting on the end of a corner, a good finish from him with his right foot, put Boro in front, and I thought it was a deserved goal as well. Very, very positive start for us. However, a spanner was thrown in the works only 9 minutes later, as on the 26th minute, Dale Fry, while defending, I can't remember if it was a cross or a corner, suffered a calf injury, which is very frustrating because Dale is just someone who you want in the team, but you just can't get a consistent run out of him because of injuries. And he did go off, and we had to change shape, and it knocked us for six completely. And Boro had a back five that consisted of Sammy Silvera, Matt Targett, Luke Ayling, Callum Britton, and Alan Brown, who dropped in from midfield into the right side of a back five. So essentially, we were at one stage playing with a back four full of fullbacks, well, three fullbacks and a winger, and then we dropped Alan Brown into there, so we had a midfielder in there as well. So essentially, we switched to a back three, and we had a back five that consisted of two fullbacks, a winger, a central midfielder, and a fullback. Mental, the predicament that our defence was in. And the change in shape it never really got us back into the swing of things, really. Birmingham come back into it, as you'd expect. They've scored 8 goals in the last 2 games. They were extremely threatening going forward. They did get themselves an equaliser only 3 minutes after the substitution was made, and Boro were still trying to adapt to the new system, and it was clear things were just a little bit disjointed within the game, and it was Damari Gray with the goal. A lot of controversy around this one. A corner come in from the right-hand side. He appears to put both hands on the back of Sammy Silvera. In the rule book, it's a foul. And was it soft? Should Sammy be stronger? There's an argument, but, there's 2 hands on the back. He appears to push him. It's a foul, and the referee doesn't give it. And I'm not going to spend too much time on the referee today, but he was utterly dreadful, by the way. One of the worst refereeing displays I've seen all season. Actually, no, I'll get back to him at the very end, because something happened at the end of the game which was, well, even worse than this and even more blatant than this. But yeah, question marks over the equalising goal, and yeah, the referee overall and his linesmen were just utterly dreadful all game. They gave us absolutely nothing. But anyway, we move on. And yeah, the rest of the first half was mostly Birmingham City pressure. Boro just trying to survive out there, really, just trying to get a grip of the game, sort of restart the engine and get going again. Birmingham had 1 or 2 chances. I don't know if the corner actually came from a big chance from Patrick Roberts. It may have done. It was a very good save by Sol Bryn. But Boro got to half-time. You think it's going to be 1-1. We survive the half, that we survive the changes, and you're just hoping we can get in at half-time, maybe get a few messages across, and we can adapt a little bit better to this new system in the second half, and maybe fare a little bit better. We had other ideas, because on the very, very brink of the first half coming to a close, Hayden Hackney puts us 2-1 up against the run of play. Maybe. I think the half started to just peter out a little bit, to be fair, from the sort of 40th minute onwards. And it was a shot from Aidan Morris that was, well, don't know where it was going. Hilariously, when he lined up the shot, I turned to Johnny and I said, please don't shoot Morris, because we know Hayden Morris isn't the best shooter in the world. I don't know where it was heading, but luckily it caught the heel of Hayden Hackney, who diverted it into the corner past the goalkeeper. And when you're hoping Boro would just get into half-time level, we actually go in 1 goal up, which was absolutely fantastic. 2-1 up going into the second half. And then the second half, it was just about sort of managing the game, really. Birmingham brought on some big guns. You know, Kyogo come on up front. They went completely all out with Lyndon Dykes coming on. Had a few opportunities, a few big chances they probably should have done better with. There was a cross that come in, headed back across goal that, should have probably been on target. The big money man, Jay Stansfield, missed a 1v1 down the left-hand side. So they did have some big chances, Birmingham, but they just failed to take them. And Boro did hold out in the end. And, I mean, it was incredible how well we defended at the end of that game. As I say, Birmingham brought on, forwards, wingers. I think they had 3 up top at the end of the game. I mean, they had a strike force up top that I think must have cost them upwards of £30 million. I know Stansfield was 15, 16, Kyogo was 10, Dykes was maybe 3, and they were going up against a back 5 that was as makeshift as I've ever seen it. Matt Targett had to go off because he was still suffering from an injury that he had midweek. He got through at the 60th minute, which I think was more than we expected by the sounds of it. So in the end, we had a back 5. We had Sammy Silvera, a winger, at left wing back. We had young George McCormick making his first senior appearance in forever, a left back at left centre half. Luke Ayling was in the centre of it. To his right, we had Alan Brown, a central midfielder, and Callum Britton on the right. So not a single player, barring Callum Britton, really, in anywhere near their natural position, and they did just brilliantly to defend the box, see the game out, and I thought there was just some really, really awesome performances in there. The boys put absolutely everything in to getting that result. They were on their last legs at the end of the game. They ran their socks off and they did everything they could to get the victory. And I'm absolutely over the moon for them. I'm over the moon for the fans, the club, the hierarchy, everyone surrounded with Middlesbrough Football Club who has been let down by the acts of a certain former manager this week. Brilliant, and as I say, you see after the game what the players have come out, put on social media. This did affect everybody in a really, really tough way, and you can only imagine how tough it's been this week for Vesh, for Watling, for all of the staff, for the players and the fans, of course. Everyone's gone through it, so you can't really underestimate the magnitude of this win. One more thing worth mentioning, just in regards to the dreadful refereeing performance. I have no clue how the Birmingham goalkeeper stayed on the pitch at the end. Literally, Luke Ayling celebrated in his face because he's an absolutely fantastic shithouse, and Beadle literally raises his arms to Ayling's neck and throws him to the ground. GBH, referee gives a booking. Okay, mate, whatever you say. Looking at the lineup and the team then and the performances, I'm not going to even remotely sort of nitpick or try and, pull out individuals one way or the other. I think it was just an awesome performance. And I think they just all deserve great credit for how they conducted themselves, the effort and the commitment they put in to this game. I mean, if there was to be a standout, I thought Hayden Hackney was really good. I thought Hayden Morris was really good. I thought Riley McGree made a difference once again. Bryn come up with some big saves in key moments. But yeah, this just felt like a win for Middlesbrough Football Club in every which way today. And, well, I hope he was watching. That's all I'm saying about that. In terms of statistics, Birmingham did definitely have the better of it. I think that was definitely a lot of the second half when Boro was sort of desperately trying to defend their goal with, as I said, the most patched up defence you'll ever seen. But yeah, a mix of being wasteful up top and some really good defending by Boro. We saw the game out. We still had 4 shots on target, 8 shots in total, none of which were of the highest of quality. Birmingham did fluff a good couple of big chances, in that second half. But we saw it out. We got the victory, and we now look at the league table. And yeah, we are up to second once again. Coventry beating Stoke puts them 5 points clear. But as I say, I think just Boro being second anyway is amazing. I think given everything that's happened, I mean, with Rob Edwards, if he was still here, it would be amazing for Boro to be second in the league. But I think to get this result out the way, to draw a line under this result, I think is just so much more important. You know, the words that Eddie Vivesh said after the game, I think were incredibly telling and very, very well put. The celebrations after the game were absolutely immense as well. And now we've got a 2-week break that is, let's be honest, perfectly timed. You know, you will never ever catch me dead, usually praising and celebrating an international break, but the only thing that is good about this situation, I think, is that we have 2 weeks to try and hopefully sort it out and have someone in the dugout for Oxford. I don't think Adi Vivesh will take it, but I really hope for the club's sake he's still here with Harry Watling and the rest of the team. I'd like to hope they were club signings. I think they were. So, you know, I think with Judas off to Wolves, and you'd imagine that deal done, we'd have probably heard by now that there would have been coaching staff following him. And to be honest, the words and the sort of commitment shown by Viviash after the game, I don't think they were words of a guy who's got any plans on going anywhere anytime soon, unless, of course, the new manager comes in and wants to bring his own coaching team, which might be the only hurdle in this situation. But if we can bring someone in who's happy to work with Viviash and Watling, I think we can pick up from where we left off, and we can completely forget about a certain someone who came and went as soon as he was gifted a route out. So, yeah, what happens now? Well, we'll keep an eye on it. As I say, there will be updates on this channel. There'll be a lot to talk about. You know, normally international breaks are a time to, you know, kind of take a rest and take a break and switch off for a bit, but it's going to be anything but for Middlesbrough Football Club over the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to continue to make videos on here discussing, theorising the news, the links, who's coming in next, what my thoughts on them are when they do come in. Me and Chris will be doing another podcast next week to chat about it all in more detail. We're going to try and get someone from, you know, a journal in to discuss, I guess, where Boro will be, if there is a new manager in, and obviously confirmation once the Snake has joined the Wolves. So, yeah, lots to come over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And before we know it, we'll be back to preview Oxford, and then it is just full steam ahead, isn't it? Until, well, March, really. That's when the chaotic Christmas period starts. But Boro find themselves second after 15 games, almost 2 points a game, despite the performances and all of what's happened in between. I've got to say, that for me is something I will absolutely take, and I'm utterly delighted and over the moon with. So, yeah, no Edwards, no problem. Good luck going to Wolves, a team who are already relegated. And if we don't see you next season in the Championship, we might see you as we pass you on the way up. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Hit a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. As I say, lots to come. Comment in the section below with your thoughts on this game. And all I'm going to leave this with is thank you very much for watching. And, well, today I am incredibly proud to be a Boro fan. I'll see you all in the next one.